So today we are going to go ahead and just start all of our news with Zack Snyder. Are you familiar with that name?
I am slightly, but if you can inform me a little more.
300?
Right.
You've seen that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
Watchmen?
and I know they just came out with a new one recently.
That was like a few years ago. Come on now, Justin. I don't know.
Remember, Under the Rock guy.
That is true. That is true. And then Watchmen. Have you ever heard of that before?
Yeah, that was a great.
That was him, and that was like a straight-on comic book adaptation.
Yeah.
It was great. It was fantastic. I mean, it was a like 3.5 hour long movie, but I enjoyed it. Then you have the Snyderverse. You've seen that? Man of Steel,
All right.
Batman v Superman.
Sir, classic.
So all of those were that's Snyder's work.
Wow.
And what was going on is, he created his universe before James Gunn came along.
Right.
The previous Warner Brothers media, or the Warner Brothers management, they wanted money, and so they didn't let him do the work he wanted to put out there, and
Right.
And really just sabotaged his career and made him leave. And then he went on to Netflix, right? And then with Netflix, he got a deal to go ahead and start his new IP, which was like a combination of Star Wars and The Seven Samurai, and which was called Rebel Moon. And then, but before that, he also made Army of the Dead. I don't know if you've seen
Okay,
it.
I have.
So there's good and bad common themes among those movies.
Right.
So the good common theme is that he is one hell of an action director, right? Like the action in all of those movies are top notch. The space battle, the air battle between Zod and Superman is still among one of the best in Man of Steel. That was like straight up Dragon Ball Z stuff. And then even his, Batman from Batman v Superman, where he's fighting in the warehouse. That was so cool.
Yeah.
And even the Snyder cut of the Justice League was so good. And then same thing continued, and that's also true for 300. 300 also had wonderful action.
Yeah.
And then Rebel Moon had some great action pieces as well, which is like his, again, new IP. 2 movies have come out on Netflix so far. And that was genuinely going to be something new for him, right? That's what he wanted to do.
Right.
But what ended up happening is the same common mistake he's had from the very beginning with every single movie he's made. And I'm sorry if there's, because there is this toxic fandom called the Snyder fandom.
I've heard of
And
it.
it's not Snyder's fault, but he also doesn't do anything to calm them down.
Right.
So these fans, so-called fans of Snyder, it's really like a cult. They go around, they review bomb anything that's against Snyder. James Gunn took over DCU, and even though Snyder supports it, the fandom feels that Warner Brothers has wronged Snyder, which is true, but they feel that, somehow James Gunn needs to pay for it, which I think is really stupid.
Yeah. Distorting your opinions.
Yeah, and that's the same thing, and now might happen with Netflix, because why? Now here's even something bad. The bad common thing among all of his movies is they have really shitty writing.
Okay.
He is not the best writer. If he could handle the cinematography like of the action scenes and just give the pen to someone else to write with, dude, that would be best. I mean, what people don't know, and it's funny because his fandom is attacking James Gunn, that arguably the best movie critically that Snyder has is Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, right.
And that's a remake, right? But he didn't write it. James Gunn wrote it. so it's like, it really points out to the fact that he's just not a great storyteller or a writer. He needs help, and I feel like he's one of those directors that wants complete control so he could get all the glory. And that's how his fandom sees it. So now with Netflix, so when they were going to Netflix, when Snyder was going to Netflix, his fandom was basically saying, hey, we want the Snyderverse. Warner Brothers should give the rights to Superman, to Batman, and everything to Snyder. Let him finish his vision, which is like, all right, first of all, you're stupid for even thinking that.
Yeah, that's extreme.
But now that his Rebel Moon series They've been some of the worst critically reviewed series. And again, for the same thing. Cool action pieces, sure, but the writing is horrendous.
And they just had the 2 director's cut versions come out right now, too. I wonder if that's why they're screaming for the attention.
Well, yes, because Netflix recently announced, so they, as I mentioned, he had Army of the Dead, which is like, he has this thing where every movie of his, he just wants to be fantastical and have something to do with the Egyptian gods. I'm sorry, the Greek gods. Because you have, in Batman versus Superman, he's comparing God to man. And then in, 300, you have gods, you have Xerxes, he's a god, and he's fighting men. And same thing in here, Army of the Dead, where, he's going against these zombies. And there's zombies named Zeus and stuff like that. It's like he's got some obsession with the Greek gods. So I'm surprised he doesn't just go out there and then like create like some type of Greek god movie. Maybe Hercules. He could work on her. But now with Rebel Moon doing really bad, it seems like Netflix has kind of panicked, at least in my opinion.
Right.
And basically saw the future, which is Snyder never really has a good future for any universe. I'm sorry to say that, but he doesn't. And with that, they canceled the rest of the Army of the Dead universe because there's been two movies.
I did not know that.
One was like a prequel, and one was Army of the Dead. And it was called Army of Thieves, the first one. And, And it was, they were, again, great action pieces with very bad writing.
Right.
And so now you have the Snyder Kingdom, or the fandom, really trying to stir some stuff up and saying they want to go ahead and cancel Netflix. In fact, there are some YouTubers. There's this guy that I used to watch a lot. I used to love watching his content, his reactions, Tyrone Magnus. He was one of the first big reactors on YouTube. And I used to love that guy. But if now you watch any of his videos, if it's not Snyder related, if it's anything to do with James Gunn or the new DCU or where the DC is heading, where Warner Brothers is heading, all he does is like really spread the hate before anything even happens. He'll be like, no, this looks stupid.
Yeah, and I feel like you kind of have to watch out with that as an influencer the further you go on, because you literally can change people's opinions without them even watching. You are the trailer almost before the trailer.
Yes, and I think the reason behind that is because he did have Snyder come on there, and he was trying to get a job per se on one of Snyder's movies, where he was like, hey, I'm an actor, I'm available, why don't you have me come on there? Something like that. And Snyder was like, okay, we'll think about it. And I think he has hope for that, and he's thankful that Snyder made his time to go on there and to really have a sit down, which is cool. It is. I don't have anything against that. However, you have to be objective, right? You have to be able to see where the fault is the fault. If you want to blame Warner Brothers for firing him from the Snyderverse, okay.
Of course.
Okay, I see where the problem is. If you want to say it was the media that was trashing his, decisions in the 300 sequels and everything, okay, I understand that too. If you want to trash the media that they're, purposely giving bad reviews to, which I don't think they're doing it purposely because of watching the movies, they're pretty terrible. Rebel Moon. The entire series so far, I understand that. However, if you can't collectively see that there's a reason all of these have been failures, because let's say it, they have been failures. Besides the Wonder Woman movie, none of the other ones, from his DCEU or anything like that has really made the money it should have.
Right.
Or it could have. And it's the same thing with his Netflix movies, They get high viewership because people have hope.
Right.
But they also get really bad ratings because they end up being really boring, really long. I don't know what his obsession is with slow motion, because that ruins it. Like, for everything, man. It's like, if you cut down the slow motion in his movies...
It's that filler time.
No, I'm serious. It's like, if you could cut it down... you could probably save like an hour of screen time You know,
Somebody needs to do
some
like
of these movies.
a video of all the little slow down.
I think someone did do that with Justice League, where they cut it down and they're like, "Whoa, the movie's actually like pretty good length without the slow mo. It doesn't have to be 4 hours." But yeah, that's happening, man. That's happening. He is getting out of Netflix, and with people thinking that he might be going back to Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers might give him a second chance. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be for his own movies. If he's going to make any type of movie, it's going to be under James Gunn's rule, because that's just how it's going to have to be.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So,
He's got that fandom with him.
Yeah. Toxic fandom, man, it's in any capacity, it's horrible.
No, absolutely. I totally agree.
But, you know, I know I talked a lot on that one, but I just wanted to let you guys know what's going on.
It's a serious subject. Some big moves going on, because I was not aware of any of that. I don't know if you guys were, but I was totally unaware of that.